The 7 locks of identity. A sequential unbinding of the self, the earth lock. Fear and the myth of survival. Before anything opens, before light, insight, or cosmic fireworks, the system checks one thing. Can you survive without clinging? Not spiritually, not metaphorically, biologically, emotionally, psychologically. This is the earth chakra, the base frequency, the operating system that whispers, stay alive, stay safe, do not lose control. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most humans are not living. They are managing fear with better furniture. Fear is not an emotion. It is a loop. A feedback signal that says, if I let go, I disappear. Quantum physics would quietly disagree. Nothing disappears. It transforms, collapses, reconfigures. Yet the nervous system does not read equations. It reads memory. The earth chakra stores every moment where survival felt threatened. Rejection, instability, loss, money vanishing, people leaving, certainty dissolving. The mind calls this being realistic. Cute story. Fear binds consciousness to repetition. Same habits, same reactions, same identity wearing different outfits. Hermetic law states, as within, so without. A fearful inner state generates a world obsessed with security. Locks, plans, backup plans for the backup plans. And still, the anxiety hums underneath like bad background music. This is where awakening becomes inconvenient. You are not asked to fight fear. That would just give it a promotion. You are asked to let it fall, downward, out of the mind, out of the story, back into the ground where energy recycles. Breathe. Slowly. Feel gravity doing the work you've been micromanaging. Fear dissolves when control is surrendered, not defeated, released. The earth chakra opens when survival is no longer your identity, when existence is no longer something you must earn. And yes, the ego panics here. It calls this irresponsible, dangerous, spiritual nonsense. Of course it does. It's about to be unemployed. Breathe. Notice something subtle. You are still here. The body did not vanish. Reality did not collapse. The observer remains. This is the first lock. And once it opens, the system knows something important. You are willing to continue. Not because it is safe, but because it is coherent. And coherence, unlike fear, actually sustains life. When you are ready, the current rises. The next lock waits. The water lock. Guilt, memory, and emotional stagnation. Once fear loosens its grip, energy begins to move, and immediately it runs into the next obstacle. Not danger, not pain, guilt. The water chakra governs flow, emotion, pleasure, connection, the ability to feel life without punishing yourself for it later. And here is the irony nobody advertises. Most people do not block pleasure because they are broken. They block it because they believe they are undeserving. Guilt is time turned solid. It anchors consciousness to the past and refuses to let it evaporate. The mind says, I should have known better. The nervous system replies, then we don't get to feel good now. A charming partnership. From an energy perspective, guilt is not remorse. Remorse is fluid. It learns, adjusts, releases. Guilt is sticky. It keeps replaying the same scene like a bad rerun you forgot to cancel. Quantum systems do not work this way. They do not punish particles for previous states. They respond only to present configuration. Yet humans insist on dragging yesterday into today and wondering why the system feels heavy. Hermetic law again whispers, nothing rests, everything moves. except guilt. Guilt digs in and builds a little house. This chakra holds every "I ruined it," every "I hurt them," every "I don't deserve ease." The personality frames this as morality, but energetically, it is self-binding. Water cannot flow if it is dammed by blame. Emotion cannot circulate if it must first pass a courtroom. Opening the water chakra does not erase responsibility. That would be childish. It integrates it. Responsibility says, "I see what happened." Guilt says, "I will never let you forget." Only one allows movement. Breathe. Let the past loosen its grip on the present. Notice something strange. When guilt releases, pleasure does not become reckless. It becomes clean, not indulgence, not escapism, flow. Emotion moves through instead of camping out. Joy no longer asks for permission. Sensation stops apologizing for existing. And yes, the ego objects here too. It claims suffering keeps you good. That joy makes you careless. This is nonsense dressed up as virtue. Water teaches adaptability. Life bends, reshapes, continues. The water chakra opens when experience is allowed without self-punishment. When feeling is no longer taxed by memory. And suddenly, the system does something unexpected. It relaxes, which is alarming for anyone who equated tension with control. The current rises again, warmer now, more assertive. The next lock is not subtle. It burns. The firelock, shame, will, and the fracture of power. As the current rises, it stops being gentle. Water flows, fire demands. This is the fire chakra, the center of will, agency, direction, the quiet certainty of "I can." And this is where most people collapse internally while still functioning externally. They look capable, they act competent. Inside, the flame flickers. The blockage here is shame, not embarrassment, not guilt, shame. Guilt says, "I did something wrong." Shame says, "I am wrong." A devastating upgrade. Shame disconnects will from identity. It convinces consciousness that power must be earned through perfection, success, or approval, which is exhausting. Because perfection does not exist, and approval is rented, not owned. From an energy perspective, shame compresses fire inward. The flame turns against itself. Drive becomes self-criticism. Desire becomes hesitation. From a scientific lens, chronic shame collapses agency. The nervous system learns that expression leads to punishment, so it dims output. Fire becomes cautious, then conditional, then resentful. This is why so many people say they want change, but move like they're asking permission from ghosts. Hermetic principle again. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Suppressed fire does not disappear. It leaks. Passive aggression, burnout. Quiet rage disguised as exhaustion. The ego calls this being realistic. It's actually self-containment with a superiority complex. Breathe. Slowly, feel heat without narrative. Opening the fire chakra is not about confidence speeches or aggressive positivity. That just paints over the fracture. It is about integrating failure. Failure does not weaken will. Identification with outcome does. When power is tied to performance, the flame becomes unstable. When power is intrinsic, it steadies. The fire chakra opens when self-worth is no longer conditional. When action is allowed without guaranteeing results. When will is reclaimed without needing proof. And something shifts. power returns quietly. No announcement, no applause. Just a subtle inner alignment that says, I move because I choose to. The ego hates this phase. It cannot monetize shame anymore. It cannot motivate you through self-attack, which means the system starts running cleaner, hotter, more precise. The flame rises, and now it approaches the most dangerous illusion of all. Love as memory. The heart lock, grief, coherence, and the misunderstanding of love. As fire stabilizes, the current softens, not weaker, wider. This is the heart chakra, the coherence center, the bridge between instinct and insight. And this is where the system finally stops pretending. The blockage here is grief, not sadness, not pain. Grief is frozen love. Love that lost its form and didn't know where to go afterward. Most people believe grief proves depth, that holding pain honors what was lost. Emotionally poetic, energetically incorrect. From an energy standpoint, grief collapses circulation. Love contracts into memory and stops moving. From a scientific perspective, coherence breaks when emotional energy loops without resolution. The heart literally loses rhythm. Hermetic wisdom says, nothing is ever lost, it only changes state. But grief argues. Grief insists love, left with the person, the moment, the life that ended. And so the heart tightens, not to protect itself, but to preserve an image. This is the tragedy. The more tightly you hold grief, the less love you can actually feel. Because love is not a possession, it is a field. Non-local, circulating, unaffected by time. Quantum fields do not collapse because one form disappears. They reorganize. Yet humans cling to the absence like it's evidence of meaning. Breathe. Slowly. Notice something subtle. When you allow grief without worshiping it, love does not vanish. It expands. The heart chakra opens when loss is honored without being inhabited, when attachment to form dissolves and essence is allowed to circulate again. Love stops pointing backward, it becomes present. Connection resumes, not as longing, as resonance. And yes, the ego resists here too. It claims letting go is betrayal, that moving forward means forgetting. This is emotional blackmail dressed as loyalty. Love does not require suffering to exist. It requires openness. When the heart opens, coherence returns. Mind, body, and emotion synchronize. The current rises again, clearer now, more precise. Because the next lock demands something uncomfortable. Truth, and most people, are very attached to their stories. The sound lock, truth, self-deception, and the voice that never lied. As the heart clears, the current sharpens, not emotionally, structurally. This is the sound chakra, the center of truth, expression, resonance. And no, this has nothing to do with talking more. Plenty of people speak constantly and say absolutely nothing. The blockage here is lies, not the dramatic kind, the quiet ones, the ones whispered internally. I'm fine. This is just how I am. I don't really want that. I don't care. Fascinating how often those sentences appear right before collapse. From an energy perspective, lies distort vibration. They create interference patterns in the field. From a scientific lens, incoherence emerges when internal signaling contradicts lived experience. The system loses signal integrity. The voice weakens not because truth is dangerous, but because suppression requires constant energy. Hermetic law again. As within, so without. If you lie internally, reality echoes confusion, mixed signals, delayed responses. People not hearing you, even when you are loud, because sound carries alignment, not volume. This chakra governs authenticity, not morality, not politeness, truth. And truth does not mean brutality. It means precision. The most damaging lies are not spoken aloud. They are identity distortions. I'm not that kind of person. I can't change. This is unrealistic. These are not facts. They are protective myths. The ego uses them to stay employed. Breathe slowly. When the sound chakra opens, something uncomfortable happens. The self-image collapses, and people hate that phase. They call it a crisis, a dark night, a personality glitch. It's actually signal correction. Truth stabilizes the system. Expression becomes clean. Words land. Silence speaks. You no longer perform honesty. You resonated. And yes, relationships change here. Some dissolve, some deepen. Not because you became different, but because you stopped editing yourself for acceptance. The sound chakra opens when truth is spoken internally first. When identity stops negotiating with fear. When expression aligns with being. The current continues upward. Brighter now, less personal, less dramatic. The next lock will dissolve something even more cherished. The illusion that you are separate. The light lock. Illusion, perception, and the collapse of separation. As truth stabilizes, the current no longer feels personal. This is where things get strange for the ego and quiet for consciousness. This is the light chakra, the center of insight. Perception beyond story, vision without interpretation. The blockage here is illusion, not fantasy, not imagination. Illusion is the belief in separation, the idea that you are in here and the world is out there. That subject and object are different things. That experience happens to you instead of through you. From a quantum perspective, this belief is already outdated. Observer and observed are not independent variables. Measurement alters outcome. Perception collapses probability. Yet humans still behave as if reality is happening without them, as if they are passengers on a hostile bus called life. Hermetic wisdom says it plainly. All is mind, which does not mean reality is fake. It means reality is participatory. The illusion is not the world. The illusion is division. This chakra holds every belief that says me versus inside versus outside, self versus other. And here's the dark joke. The harder you try to fix the world, the more separate you assume yourself to be from it. Breathe. Slowly. Notice what happens when perception relaxes. Thoughts appear, sensations arise, emotions move. And yet, something is watching, not judging, not narrating, observing. This is the shift. The light chakra opens when the observer is no longer mistaken for the thinker, when awareness realizes it was never inside the noise. Insight is not an event. It is a stabilization. Suddenly, patterns reveal themselves without effort. Reactivity dissolves. Meaning stops being hunted. Unity is perceived, not imagined. And yes, the ego panics again. It claims this feels dissociative, unreal, dangerous. Translation: I am losing central authority. Exactly. The illusion of separation collapses gently, not with fireworks, with obviousness. Everything feels connected because it always was. You just stopped pretending otherwise. Perception clears. The field brightens. And now, only one lock remains. The most subtle one. The one that looks like freedom, but isn't. The crown lock. Attachment, identity, and the last thing you refuse to drop. At this point, the current is quiet. No drama, no visions, no spiritual fireworks to post online, just space. This is the crown chakra, the thought center, the interface with the infinite. And the blockage here is not fear, not guilt, not shame, not grief, not lies, not illusion. It is attachment, the most socially acceptable addiction on earth. Attachment is not love. It is dependence. It is the need for roles, outcomes, meaning, and identity to confirm that you exist. I am the healer. I am the strong one. I am the awakened one. I am the one who finally figured it out. Cute costumes. Still costumes. From an energy perspective, attachment anchors consciousness to form. It keeps awareness identified with the character instead of the field. From a scientific lens, attachment maintains observer bias. Perception keeps collapsing reality into familiar patterns, even when new possibilities are available. Hermetic wisdom ends the argument quickly. To rise, you must release weight. And identity is very heavy. The crown chakra does not open through effort. That would be ironic. It opens through relinquishment, not rejecting the world, not abandoning life, not renouncing anything dramatic, just letting go of ownership. Outcomes stop defining you. Roles lose authority. The future stops demanding guarantees. Breathe. Slowly. Notice what remains when nothing is required. Awareness without direction. Presence without agenda. Consciousness without commentary. This is where the ego makes its final speech. It warns you that you will disappear, that you'll lose motivation, that nothing will matter. A beautiful lie. What actually dissolves is resistance. Action still happens. Creation still flows. Love still moves. It just doesn't need to prove anything anymore. The crown chakra opens when identity stops clinging to form. When consciousness recognizes itself as the space in which experience arises. Not the thinker, not the role, not the story. The player. And here is the quiet truth. Opening the chakras was never about gaining power. It was about removing the weights that made power necessary. When the last attachment dissolves, there is no character left to defend. Only awareness remains. Watching, participating, free, and yes, you still pay bills, still have a name, still live a life. You just no longer mistake the costume for what you are. The system completes, not with an ending, with openness. When the system goes quiet and life finally starts listening. After the last lock releases, nothing spectacular happens. No choir, no cosmic badge, no congratulations from the universe, which is deeply offensive to the part of you that wanted a receipt. This is the finale most people miss. When the chakra system completes, there is no new identity installed. There is subtraction. The nervous system settles. The mind stops scanning for threats, approval, meaning. Not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer negotiating with it. From a systems perspective, coherence is restored. Energy circulates without obstruction. Attention stabilizes. From a quantum lens, probability collapses cleanly. Not through effort, through alignment. From hermetic law, the loop closes. As above, so below. The inner field no longer contradicts the outer experience. This is why things begin to change quietly. Opportunities appear without pursuit. Clarity replaces urgency. Decisions feel obvious instead of dramatic. And here's the dark humor part. People will ask what you're doing differently. Nothing. You just stopped interfering. The personality wants techniques, routines, affirmations, something to maintain. But there is nothing left to maintain. Awareness does not need management. Breathe. Slowly. Notice the absence of friction. You still feel emotion. You still experience contrast. You still engage with the world. But you are no longer trying to fix yourself through it. This is sovereignty, not dominance, not control. Freedom from the need to be someone. And paradoxically, this is where real influence begins. Because when identity stops defending itself, presence becomes undeniable. You don't convince, you don't chase, you don't perform awakening, you resonate. The system is not open forever. That would imply effort. It is simply unobstructed. And if fear, guilt, shame, grief, lies, illusion, or attachment return, they pass through. No resistance, no drama, just information. This was never about becoming special. It was about becoming clear. And clarity changes everything without announcing itself.